What's going on, y'all? Welcome to another Friday night. And this week's a little bit special because it's not just another live episode of the Play Collar Sports Talk Show, but football is back. I might be a little bit excited, man. I might be just a little bit excited about that.
I don't think we noticed.
Yeah, I mean, it's just out there, man. So yeah, we're gonna talk a little NFL news here at the beginning of the show, but most of the show, we're also kicking off our NFL division previews. So tonight we're gonna be talking about the AFC and NFC East divisions, and we're gonna have some special guests join us tonight as well. So definitely going to go ahead and get it popping. But before we do that, of course, as always, we need to introduce ourselves. My name is Stephen Box, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, the one and the only.
That would be _McCain. And I also want to remind everybody that we are the undisputed tag team champs of Interactive Sports Talk. Now I want to put the focus on the undisputed tag team champs.
Undisputed, undefeated, reigning, defending world tag team champions of Interactive Sports
Galaxy
Talk.
Tag team
And
champions.
that's why they call us the Play Collar. Yes, sir. So yeah, man. So like I said, we're gonna have some special guests here on in just a little bit to kind of talk to us about the AFC and NFC East divisions. But first, man, we got to go and kick it off with some of the news and notes from around the league right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and let you take over, man. I'm gonna let you be the MC.
Well, let me be the MC. Oh, how kind of you, sir.
I mean, you are the national ceremonies. I mean, you cool McCain. Who else gonna do it?
I mean, it could be the other half of the tag team champs that could do it.
That's true, man. But I did
since I'm not the undisputed Galaxy champion, but I'm the undisputed Galaxy tag team champ.
I did the whole intro, man. So I figured I'd share, man. I figured I'd share some love.
It's this other guy. His name is Stephen Box. That would be the answer to that question. Just to answer the question that you asked.
Never heard of him. He sounds like a cool guy.
Sounds like a jerk to me, but hey, however you feel about him. His name rings jerk, but hey,
he's probably a 49ers fan.
You know how those guys are.
Used to win.
But not so much lately, but hey,
further than the Eagles last year, but that's
I just simply asked, we're talking about who's used to winning lately. There's one team that's had a Super Bowl lately, and one team that's hasn't really had anything that much lately. So, just saying.
I mean, lately defined by last year, sir. I don't really care what you did.
The last couple of years. I don't care what you did way back in the 80s and 90s, but you still talk about it all the time.
Way back in 94.
So if I have to hear you talk about what you did in the 90s, you're definitely going to hear what to talk about what I did 3 or 4 years ago. That's just goes without saying. But I digress.
Don't try to put me in this Cowboys man. Come on.
I'm not putting you in anything, man. I'm just spitting the truth. If that's how you take it, I can't control how you take it. But we'll start off here with something that's very interesting for me. And hopefully a lot of you guys will be interested in this as well. The XFL has announced the cities for their reboot. They've kept some of the cities that they previously had. They've added some new cities. So it's going to be 8 teams year one. And your boy Cool McCain, along with Sam Shady from Shady Sports Network, the snowman himself, Brian Snow, and one other esteemed individual whose name I have not received as of yet, will be covering the XFL draft in November. And fear not, that will be streamed directly here to Play Collar Sports Talk Live, so that all of our followers don't have to go anywhere else to get that coverage. You can just roll on over here to your boys that you normally hit on Friday nights. We'll stream it for you. You'll get some of my commentary, see this lovely face, and everything will be great in the world. But back to the cities. So the cities are Dallas/Arlington. Sounds very familiar, just like the Arlington football team. Houston, Las Vegas, Orlando, San Antonio, Seattle, St. Louis, and actually Washington, D.C. is going to have a football team now, an XFL team, actually in Washington, D.C. So what they did was they chopped the teams that were underperforming and replaced them in cities they thought would be better for this reboot of the league. They've announced the coaches as well, and we can go through those rather quickly here. So Dallas is going to be coached by Bob Stoops. Houston is going to be coached by Wade Phillips. Las Vegas, a lot of you guys may be familiar with this guy, Rod Woodson. So that's going to be an interesting one. Orlando is going to be Terrell Buckley. And Orlando's one of the new cities too, by the way. San Antonio is another name that I know everyone will be familiar with, Hines Ward. Seattle is going to be coached by Jim Haslett. And second here, guys. St. Louis is Anthony Beck. And DC is going to be, Washington, D.C. team is going to be coached by Reggie Barlow. So we've already got the head coaches in place. We've got the cities in place. So now it's going to be a matter of filling out rosters, getting the right people in place. And I really hope that the XFL is a league that prospers. They were actually doing pretty well until COVID hit, and that's what pretty much took them down last time. But I hope the league prospers. I think they're in some really good cities for sports. There's some other cities I would have liked for them to be in, but I understand where you're looking at the numbers, you're looking at the performance from previous years, as well as what cities have been good at supporting teams, and that's how you're figuring out where you're going to go for the inaugural relaunch. So hopefully everything goes well. We'll get more rules, we'll get more things between now and the draft. But this is one of the places that you can follow, that you can like, that you can subscribe to get XFL coverage. Co-host, do you have any thoughts on the cities for the XFL and the coaches?
Yeah, I mean, we've actually known most of the coaches for a while. It's interesting to see some former players pop up in that list also. Always like to kind of see like how guys are able to translate from playing to coaching. Some guys do really well with that. Some guys not so much. So we'll definitely be interested to kind of see that. I was just excited to actually have another option that's there. When they were around last time, they did introduce a couple of interesting concepts. And unfortunately, like you said, just they didn't really manage to survive the pandemic. But to me, anytime you can have some competition out there, that's a good thing. Right now, you have college football is basically your feeder system for the NFL, but you have a lot of guys that they go to college, maybe they're not quite ready for the NFL yet, and they don't have another opportunity to get on. So now with the two other leagues that we actually have that are going to be available, guys have a place they can go play football. They can develop for another year or two and maybe show somebody like, hey, I've developed my skills enough to at least get onto an NFL roster and then show what they can do from there. So anytime guys get more opportunities, anytime we get more football, I'm in, man. I'm for it.
Yep. And to piggyback off that, there have been a plethora of USFL players who have at least been signed to training camp contracts with NFL teams. So that's encouraging as well to just see that there are guys, scouts and things out there paying attention to the USFL. And I think especially with the backing of The Rock and his group, there are going to be people who are going to be looking at the XFL as well. Obviously, it will not run concurrent with the season. It'll follow after the season. So you'll see names next year for the XFL. But just excited that it's back. I was a big fan of the XFL in this previous iteration as well. So like I said, I'll be covering them. We'll be talking about them. I won't have a favorite team because they're not in my football city, but I'll be watching.
Okay. So a couple of other stories that are actually going on right now. One I saw, I'm just going to talk about this really quick. This actually made me laugh. Last week, we went through all the Madden ratings. And apparently, I don't know if our show kicked us off or what it was, but apparently they created a Madden hotline, and they said that within the first 6 hours, 1,000 people actually called the Madden hotline to complain about Madden ratings.
Well, you created a hotline, so I mean, I don't blame anyone but Madden for that. Like I said, man, we have a lot of guys that I don't feel like ever really played football. You may have watched it, you know, you may have been the manager, but I don't think they ever really played the game of football. And they're the ones who are making these decisions. You're going to kind of get these like, why would you have that? Why is this player ranked over this player? And you have the part of the population that says, it's just Madden ratings. You guys are taking Madden ratings too seriously. Yeah, duh. Yeah. What else do we have right now? We're going into training camp.
Yeah.
So we're going to sit here for every week and talk about what we anticipate happening in training camp, what we hope happens in training camp. No, we're going to talk about something important like Madden ratings. So if you get it right, it's not that big of a story. But when it's consistently wrong, it becomes a story. It's just what it is.
I don't know if you saw this earlier or not, but since we are talking about the NFC East today, this makes sense to include in this conversation. Ryan Kerrigan actually retired.
I did see that. He's a guy that even when he played with the, because he actually played with the Washington Redskins. This funny, man. This whole Commanders thing, I just can't get used to it. It just makes me laugh every time I think about it. It's ridiculous. But yeah, he's a really solid guy, very impressive guy. He was a workhorse for the Redskins for a number of years, I believe 10 seasons. Came and played in Philly 1 year. We weren't as good as we wanted to be that year, but it's okay. He did come over. Obviously, he's going to retire as a Redskin because he spent most of his career there. But really classy guy. Never heard any negative things about him. Interviewing other players, guys that played against him, never accused of being a dirty player or headhunter or that. Just went out, strapped his boots up, played hard, and got it done.
Yeah.
And since we're talking NFC East real quick, before we get over to our people who are going to be talking AFC East first, before we get there, though, Daniel Snyder is going to have to appear before Congress. You know what that means? That means we're going to be getting a new owner for the current Commanders, and I hope and pray this new owner and ownership comes in and says this name is stupid. Let's give this team an actual solid name. That's all I can hope for. Yeah, not a fan, but I don't want a team in my division named the Commies. Sorry.
Yeah, I feel where you're coming from. So
not sorry.
We're gonna go ahead and bring in some of our AFC East folks here. We're doing AFC first, right?
Yeah, but before we do, let me give these good people the correct introduction.
Yes, please.
So kicking off this week on the Play Caller Sports Talk Show, we're going to have our esteemed contributors for the AFC and the NFC East that you will be able to find right here on this station on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, discussing these very teams for the entirety of your 2022 season. And these are accomplished people in the field of sports. They have knowledge, they have understanding. They're not just, we ran out and just grabbed some guys that were fans. We really put some time into making sure we got people who understand the game. A lot of the people that we're going to have actually are podcasters. Some work in sports, some work in other fields, but they're going to be doing this because they also do sports. Their podcast is just in another realm. A couple of fans are going to be sprinkled in there too, but these are all people that we're confident are going to be able to give you a great experience. The name of the actual show itself is going to be called the Play Caller Sports Talk presents the NFL Matchup Madness. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and bring on the first guest, and we'll take it from there.
Sir, and I'm gonna bring them on, and I'm gonna allow you to do the introductions. But I do want to remind people real quick that this AFC East preview is brought to you by our partners over at Fanatics. That's the place where you get the hot gear. So if you want to check that out and support the show, make sure that you use the link down in the description of this video, and then we get a little bit of a commission that helps us keep the lights on around here. So appreciate the support with that.
Absolutely. All right, man. So we're going to start here. We're not going to do a big introduction because this gentleman will be able to introduce himself. But we're going to start with the Buffalo Bills. And this is Derek Jones. Derek, the floor is yours, man. Tell us a little bit about you and tell us about your Buffalo Bills, man. What can we look forward to for Buffalo in this season, and what should we be expecting?
Well, first and foremost, boys, thanks for having me on. I appreciate doing this. I have been a lifelong Bills fan. Lifelong football player, still to this day, play competitive flag football all the way up through, just a couple months ago we wrapped up. So season ticket holder with the Bills for about 5 or 6 years now. And I also run we refer to it as a championship caliber pro sports podcast in Buffalo, New York called Hats, Tats, and Stats. My entire conglomerate, myself included, are large tatted gentlemen that have a huge hat collection. We just kind of went with that. Obviously, you can tell I'm decked out here in my Bills colors, my Lord and Savior, Josh Allen. Got to love him. And as far as anything else goes, I've been doing that for about 4 years now. I'm working in local radio as well, and just enjoying being a fan and being part of it. And, I've been a coach for a long time. I actually coach baseball, but having that coach's understanding of the way things operate, the insides of a locker room, stuff like that, I think gives me a little bit different perspective. My co-hosts also all have some level of college coaching or playing experience, most of which is in football as well. So we kind of try to bring that to a little bit different take. We're not just guys sitting around, oh, this guy stinks, this guy doesn't stink type stuff. Right. we do say that, but not we try not to come from a place of not really knowing or just a formed opinion on nothing. So as far as my Bills, man, I could not be more excited. And it's part of the reason I'm excited to be here doing this, because I lived a long, long time not being able to be excited about much except for next season with the Bills. And finally, we're 3 in a row. This season's the one to be excited about. Josh Allen is back. Josh Allen is the only thing you need to know. And the weapons around him just keep getting bigger, better, and badder. And it's going to be a fun year here in Buffalo with the Bills Mafia.
Nice. So how do you feel about you guys' defense?
The big part I'm actually upset that we lost was Dirty Harrison Phillips. I was a huge fan. He really came on big late last year. I think the Vikings got an absolute monster getting him. I'm glad to have Jordan Phillips back. I'm excited to see who's not excited to see Von Miller in a Bills uniform. I actually have my Von Miller jersey sitting 10 feet to my left over here, and just excited to see it, man. It's feels like a missing piece. I'm not a big splash move guy. I'm not the guy that's like, oh, just throw money at the biggest name out there, unless you're one piece away. The Rams did it last year. They were one piece away. They went and got Stafford. They got their chip, right? So here we are, the Bills. One of the only knock on our defense, couldn't hit home. Jerry Hughes had an incredible, top 3 win rate, had 4 sacks on the year. So now we got a dude who can get in, get home, and disrupt the quarterback, not just beat his guy and set a lane. And I'm excited, man. He brings experience. He brings that next level experience. We got guys who have been all the way to the AFC Championship. We got a guy that's won 2 big ones. So we got a guy who's been on the boat. Let's go.
Nice. And what I like about you, Derek, and me and you've had little conversations as well, is the fact that you have the experience of you, even though it's flag football, you're still playing, you've coached, you could bring a different perspective. And that's kind of what we were looking for here. So everybody that's watching, everybody that sees the replay, we're kind of looking for people who have some understanding, experience, covered sports for a while, played some, sometimes it's a combination of both, but trying to bring something different as far as that. Obviously now it's just me and my co-host Derek, but during the season, we'd also have whoever you're playing on, and you guys would just be kind of discussing, what things you think are strengths for each team, weaknesses, who you think's going to win, that type of thing. So I know you've probably delved into your team as we have, and everybody else has. throughout the offseason. So let me ask you this. What do you think your guys' record is going to be at the end of the year when we head into the playoffs?
This is tough, man. I know we play a pretty tough schedule, and the big time homer in me is going 17. We're winning 17. I don't care. That's unrealistic. I saw the other day, I think USA Today had us at like 15-2. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. I really don't. But going up against, we're going to find out on Thursday night on the season opener, right? We're going to find out we're going against the defending Super Bowl champions. And I've talked about it quite a bit. That one's a huge one, right? That one is you go out and you get rolled. Our whole season all of a sudden looks like a big old We go out, even if we lose that one, it's tight. We play them. It's a dogfight. It's a slugfest. I feel good about it. I don't feel good about losing, but I feel good about that. You came out against the top, like the team. Like they're the dude till they're not. You come out and roll them, all of a sudden I might be going through a table week 1, but we won't go that far yet. But
we'll hope that doesn't happen for you.
Realistically, I think 14 wins is a big would be a solid mark for the Bills this year. I know there's a lot of hype around Miami. I'm not a Tua believer. I'm really not. I don't get the hype, and he's got a lot of weapons around him. He's got 2 solid running backs. That wide receiver room, man, is scary. Mike Gesicki's a very good and somehow still underrated tight end in my opinion. But the guy throwing him the ball, it just isn't going to be able to get it done. I think we sweep the East again. That's 6 wins right there. I don't think 6 more. 6 more only feels like an underachievement. I think 14 is a solid number.
Okay. Hey, it's fair enough, man. I like the assessment, man. I like the confidence. If you don't believe in your team, who is, right?
Right.
And Stephen, do you have anything for Dirk?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Derek, man, appreciate you coming on. Looking forward to hearing you actually drop all that knowledge throughout the course of the season each week on the NFL matchup madness. And
I'm excited, man. I really am.
You have a fellow fan for your week 1. I'll be rooting for y'all.
I appreciate that. And I'll tell you what, man, I'm a big Trey Lance truther too. I see you got your San Francisco hat on there. I'm a big Trey Lance guy. I think there's I see a lot of Josh Allen in that boy, and that's a good thing.
Hey, I said after we drafted him, man, that I felt like the deciding moment when Kyle Shanahan knew that he was going to draft a Trey Lance type guy was when we played you, and Josh Allen just absolutely embarrassed my defense. So
that's you either got him or you're looking for him, right? And that's again, it took 17, 18 years, but my guys finally got him. From Drew Bledsoe to J.P. Losman to Trent Edwards to Fitz Magic, who was a huge Fitz Magic fan, Flutie Johnson. That list is way too long for my taste. I'm so glad we got a guy and we got him locked for a long time, and I hope you guys do too. I really do. I'm calling a San Francisco Buffalo Super Bowl.
Going back with the old school.
Maybe this year, definitely next year.
Going old school with the Chris Berman prediction.
Whoop.
Love it, man. I love it. Well, appreciate you.
The team in Philadelphia have a little bit to say about that. At least the NFC half of that.
I'm tired of hearing about it. I'm tired of hearing all these Cowboys fans talk about how they're the beast of the East down there.
Please. Please.
No, man, I am. I like watching the Eagles play. And I like what they're building. Also, I'm hoping Gardner Minshew gets a shot somewhere. Not necessarily in Philly. I hope you guys got your guy, but I hope Minshew gets a shot somewhere. I like him too. Yeah,
I think he's a borderline starter, really good backup. I'm glad we were able, honestly, to keep him in case, Jalen Hurts gets injured. We have a guy who can still come in and, win some games. But like you said, at some point, I think he's good enough where he's going to get a shot somewhere because some of these guys that people are depending on, I don't think they're going to pan out.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, Derek, man, we appreciate you coming on. We are going to have to go ahead and get to our next guest here, but definitely looking forward to hearing from you on the NFL matchup madness throughout the season.
Sounds good, boys. Thank you very much, and go Bills.
Absolutely.
Welcome, man. We got you're doing 2 teams today, right?
I am, Steven. I am
pulling double duty.
This is the man with the master plan right here.
That's a man with like immense amounts of knowledge right there. I'm doing 2 teams.
I have enough. So, I mean, and
I want to tell y'all a quick story about. I want to tell you a quick story about Eddie. Right. So I reached out to Eddie. We're talking about everything. So I tell Eddie, I said, I do have a rep for Miami, but he may not be able to get on every week. Would you mind? So I give him a list of teams that we also have left at the time. And I'm like, would you mind doing another team? He was like, tell me which one. I was like, really? He was like, yeah, just tell me which one. So I'm like, this dude really has enough knowledge. And there's not a lot of people that can actually do that. And it's not a gas, it's honest truth. Yeah. It's not a lot of people that can cover their own team and then turn around and just basically say, any of the teams you got left, you tell me which one you need, I'll cover them. Yeah. And not only that, he offered to cover I can't even get the words out of my mouth. The Jets. The Jets. He offered to cover the Jets.
Yeah.
So,
hey, you know what?
So kudos to you for that. That's
cool. Hey, no problem. And I appreciate you and Steven having me on Play College Sports Talk. And I'm excited about the matchup weekly. I think just already listening to Derek, obviously being a Buffalo fan, and I'm going to start with the Jets, but I do need to say something. Two things real quick. A.J. Brown going to Philly, I think, is the most underrated move of the season. That's just my opinion. But what he did with Tannehill, struggling quite a bit in certain scenarios, I think that Jalen Hurts is going to flourish with him. That's just my opinion. But it all comes down to A.J. Brown is a top-tier route runner, and he showed it by being able to bail out Tannehill. As far as Steven in San Francisco, so I grew up near the Bay Area. My dad was a huge Niner fan. I was a kid. I was at the opposite end of the stadium for the catch with Dwight, and grew up as a kind of a pseudo Niner fan because of my father. But I'll tell you this, what broke my heart for you guys, and at the same time, it obviously got me pumped, was Mike McDaniel leaving the Niners and coming over to Miami, because the value that Coach Shanahan had in him through so many levels. I hope you guys don't miss him as much as you might, but I think eventually, because you've got a great organization. You guys will turn the corner, but I just want to tell you that I'm rooting for you guys kind of on the inside as well, personally, because of my dad. So
I appreciate it, man. I will say, I think in terms of Mike McDaniel, you got a really good coach. Obviously, Kyle Shanahan trusted him with a lot. Yeah. So obviously a very competent coach, but I think we're going to be okay, man. As much as I like him, Anthony Lynn is a pretty good,
pretty damn smart on
coach
offense
in his own right. So I think we're going to be okay.
I agree with you. Yeah, no, I totally agree, Steven. I think that and Anthony Lynn leaving San Diego, it still feels weird because the successes that they had, it's just they kind of had Schottenheimer syndrome where they could not push it to the big game. So no, I agree with you about Lynn. Let's start with the Jets, guys. So the biggest thing with the Jets running into the offseason, obviously they were 4-13 last year. GM Joe Douglas, I'm sure, looked at the first year of Coach Saleh's season I always say it wrong. And he was looking at, okay, the first thing a GM looks at in any franchise, whether they win the Super Bowl or whether they finish 0-17, the first thing they look at is, what did we do correctly, so they know what they don't have to worry about. With the Jets, I know we like to make fun of the Jets in the AFC East. I'm sure Derek, as well as most fan bases. However, the Jets did something very well quietly last year. They stayed in the middle of the pack in regards to their defense, and it's going to get better. Now, with their defense being 31st in the league last year, and you're going to trip when I say this, and 30th versus the run, obviously, you have to stop the run in the NFL these days because it's a passing league. We know that the run game sets up play action and RPA, run pass option, RPO, excuse me. So fast forwarding to this season, the first step that the GM took, he said, we got to shore up our secondary because they got absolutely blown up. So they go out for a 4th overall pick and they get Saucy. They go out and they get Ahmed Gardner. That was an excellent move because we know in the world of the NFL, no matter what division you're in and your rivals, whatever team is the most successful in the division, the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Patriots are looking up at Derek's Bills and going, what can we do to take out that success that they're having? The Jets got Sauce Gardner to try and match up with a Stephon Diggs, a Tyreek Hill. New England, I know the receiver core is kind of on the down here, but you still have to have that corner that can shut things down and make things happen for the defense. So that was really, really important for the Jets. On defense as well, Carl Lawson, he's coming back from that Achilles injury that he suffered in preseason last year. He is a gigantic piece to the success of the Jets on defense. Disruption. He's very quick on the hips. I've watched him do it to Miami. Miami never had a running game. The Jets need Carl Lawson, period. CJ Mosley in the middle is solid for the Jets. However, their outside linebacking players, even their stringers, they have a lot of problems with the outside edges. You'll notice the Jets will get run on constantly to the outside if you had speed at the running back position. And it's no knock, but without that, because all you've got is, you got Nasruddin and I always get Quincy and Quinnen. Quincy's the outside linebacker, and Quinnen is his younger brother, who's getting ready to get a huge payday, by the way, from the Jets here. He's been there for a few years. So on the defensive side, the Jets do have core pieces. It's going to depend on their secondary because you've got Josh Allen, you've got Mac Jones, and I know everybody knocks on Tua, but listen, he's very accurate. He can't throw the ball 1,000 yards, but those corners for the Jets and those safeties have to get better, or the Jets are going to find themselves in another 3, 4, 5-win season. Now, I saved the best for last with the Jets, Zach Wilson. Now, with the draft picks, they picked up some receiving help and Carter, among others. The problem that Zach Wilson would never find himself in is in a position in his second year coming from the BYU Cougars and the demeanor, the image, the clean boy cut. I mean, he looks 12. We all know this. He got beat up a lot last year. Zach Wilson has off-field issues. They may be subtle, but character is always a big thing. And when you have stories rumored, we don't know if they're true or not, of Zach Wilson being involved with his mom's friend and then cheating on his girlfriend with his mom's friend, it may not seem like anything to us fans, but it's a character thing. So is Zach Wilson a leader? Because that example is something that you look to the quarterback. Well, I don't know, man. If he's cheating on his girlfriend or this and that, some people in the locker room might not have that same open, fleecing view of their personal relationships off the field. But Zach Wilson on the football field has to be better at reading quarterbacks. They already did it with Sam Darnold. We know about the ghosting. We know about all these things. So to finish this rant, Zach Wilson needs to just play football, relax, trust his coaching, trust his teammates, and not try and throw the ball where he wants receivers to be. He's going to have the help on offense, but you've got a third-round pick. The Jets picked up Jeremy Ruckert. Now, he's going to be fighting for time behind Uzomah and Tyler Conklin to get any playing time in his first year. He can block, but are the Jets going to be a running team? We're going to see. Breece Hall, incumbent Michael Carter. Breece Hall they picked up in the second round. Are they going to do anything? It's all about the flow of the locker room and Zach Wilson being able to take that team to the next level by being a leader and not being scared. So that's my opinion. The Jets they still need another year, I think, to gel as a team before they can even start talking about hitting 500 for the season. Or I know we go to a 17 game, but 7 to 8 wins next year. I think they're going to be still around the 4 to 6 win column for the Jets.
Well, not a lot of questions to ask you after that eloquent speech there, Eddie. So tell us about your Dolphins.
All right, let's roll over to the Dolphins. Appreciate it, Cole. And sorry, I go for it, man. So if you ever have questions, you think you can just interrupt me and say, hey, Eddie, my God. Okay, so with the Fins, Derek talking about the Bills, and I just talked about how teams will go out and get players or coaches to counter the successes of the division leaders or the successful teams in the NFL. With Josh Allen, everybody knows his first year in the league, kind of suspect with his passing. He killed everybody with his legs. Second year, passing got better. The reads got better. Then, of course, now $600 trillion later, Josh Allen is considered the second, or if not the best quarterback in the league. We always throw Mahomes in the mix, of course, and then you know, everybody argues about whoever else. With the Dolphins, I know that the offseason and for the past 2 years, Tua Tagovailoa has been the big topic with Tua. Can he throw the deep ball? Can he be disciplined and know the playbook? There were issues about him not knowing the whole playbook when Coach Flores was in charge. Then you talk about to me, is the most underrated part of Tua's game, and that Tua keeps his cool. He has a short memory. He is accurate. Almost 70%. Anything that I would do in my life, if I could do it 70% correctly of the time, I'd be happy. So putting that in place with a really bad core of receivers from last year, injuries. I mean, I can just go on and on about, you know, they brought in, now his name's going to slip my mind. They brought in Will Fuller. He played one game, broke his finger. There were a lot of rumors inside the locker room, and I'm on a lot of forums that there was chemistry issues with Fuller and Coach Flores, but not smashing Flores. Flores had some really good, game planning for different opponents. However, the big news, I think, is not Tua. Tua played 21 games in 2 years, getting pulled when he wasn't successful. He did not get the ability to be challenged when he was, facing adversity. And Alabama comes in as a freshman, wins a national championship. Totally successful in Alabama. I hate people saying, well, he was great in college, but he's not so good now. Tua, Mike McDaniel relationship. What does that sound like? There's going to be change. Every head coach, when they have a good relationship with their quarterback, Belichick and Brady, we all know Brady was most of that as far as success. Tua's going to have a better year this year. I'm not saying he's going to throw for 5,000 yards and 60 touchdowns, but Tua has the pieces. They went out and got Tron Armstead from free agent. Well, he's free agent from out of New Orleans. Excuse me. They got that left side shored up. They're moving around their pieces. The big question on the Dolphins' offensive line, which has always been the issue, because I watch those Buffalo games where Ed Oliver and the whole crew comes in flying and busting up the pocket. Austin Jackson's had a really good camp to start. He came in weighing 11 pounds less and his body fat mass 10% less. That's big for a guy who weighs over 300 pounds. So that right side, and Austin Jackson being from SC, that's a pedigree for offensive line play. I think the coaching is going to make the huge difference for the Dolphins this year. From Adam Gase to Brian Flores, listen, this coach, Mike McDaniel, absolutely breathes being yourself, but being held accountable on the football field and off. So I think that's the biggest play for Miami this year, is how that coaching transition, how the player is going to be with each other. Then I move to the obvious with the fish. You got Tyreek Hill. Gave up some good draft capital, but I don't think it was that expensive. The Cheetah, you guys were talking about Madden earlier. Yeah, he should be like 150 on Madden. He's the 99, right? I mean, it's ridiculous. Picking up Tyreek Hill. Parker's gone. Devontae Parker, injury prone. Okay. They have Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill are literally the fourth fastest and the first fastest in the league, respectively. That changes the game. Then you have Cedric Wilson, who they picked up from Dallas. Under the radar, had a pretty good last 6 games of the season for Dallas. So he's a good addition. The whole offense is going to be centered around, and I know that Steven's familiar with this, running backs. So Raheem Mostert comes over. I know he's injury prone. He's healthy. He worked really hard this offseason. Steven's going to laugh when I say this. Anything that in your house, if you have it and it's available, it's great to brag to your friends about what you have. Oh, yeah, I got this pizza cutter. Let's cut pizza. Well, if you could cook a pizza and you don't have a pizza cutter, you look stupid. So with Mostert, he's got to stay on the field healthy, or the Finns ain't going to get no pizza action on the field when running the ball. You got to be able, by committee, that's what they're going to do. Mostert's healthy. Miami becomes what the Niners were with running game. Oh my God, it gets me excited. So you got Mostert if he stays healthy. Chase Edmonds, I think, was a little bit under the radar as well. Good catching the ball out of the backfield. Pretty durable. but then Sony Michel, and that veteran presence with Ahmed and Myles Gaskin. I mean, the running 2 years ago, Ryan Fitzpatrick had the most rushing yards for the Dolphins. Yeah, that's when you need to fix it. So zone blocking scheme for the Dolphins on offense with the running backs they've added and all the speed and wide receiver. I honestly think that the Dolphins offense, I don't even think fans know what it's going to be because we've never had this before, but I think it's going to be successful. On D, not much to say. Everybody's returning. Miami's defense really held its own the last half of the season. I don't think anybody would argue that. Pass rushing crew, Ogbah had a pretty good year. Jalen Phillips coming into his second year, 8.5 sacks as a rookie. I think he's going to also improve a bit, but I think it's going to be in more of the running game. I think he's going to excel a little bit more, even though he's mainly used for passing, long yardage situations. But I think he's going to be better. The biggest concern for Miami is going to be their secondary, not Xavier Howard. He's a shutdown corner. That's the Diggs counter that they've always, their safety, second year, Javon Holland from Oregon, absolutely exploded in his first year. Brandon Jones also in that safety spot on the opposite end of the field. Byron Jones, which is the number 2 corner opposite Xavier Howard, is on the physically unable to perform list. He went to the PUP list. So Noah Igbinoghene is going to have to step up. And yes, I said his name. We call him Iggy. This is his third year. He was a first-round pick late in the first. So if Byron Jones is not 100%, you're going to see teams target Iggy or whomever they have if Byron Jones isn't 100% by the start of the season. So that's what I would say is going to be that biggest target. So weaknesses for Miami, Tua's confidence, the team rallying around Tua and letting him be a leader and a captain. On the defense, it's going to be, can the Miami defense stay together for 60 minutes? And the third round draft pick, by the way, last thing. So Channing Tindall, of course, he was with Georgia when they won the title last year. He's part of that Georgia defense that was amazing. I mean, they were the Chicago Bears of college football last year from 85. He is very fast. So they drafted him for one thing in mind, Josh Allen running the ball. He's fast. He moves sideline to sideline. He's not great in pass coverage, okay at run blocking, but he can run down fast quarterbacks. So keep your eyes on that as we head into the season with the Dolphins, guys. Thank you.
So all I have to say is all of that information we just received for the Jets and for the Dolphins in a pretty condensed period of time. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what you're going to get when you talking into NFL matchup madness.
Totally appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, except for think about the fact that during matchup madness, it's all going to be focused on the specific matchups of that 1 week, not having to cover everything that's going on with the team. Literally be able to focus on
just
that
week. 1 week.
It'll be condensed on everything between two teams, a rivalry, maybe a trade, maybe this. Maybe I'm so stoked, you guys. This is matchups.
Understand, guys. This is going to be ridiculous.
Yeah.
So Eddie, real quick, man, I think we had some technical difficulties with our Patriots fan. So I'm going to just ask you real quick.
Sure, I'll go.
Not gonna ask you to do like a full breakdown of them right now.
No. Let's just have a conversation.
Give me 3 things that you think New England has going for them this year, and 3 things that are a concern.
Yeah. So, and I can do this off the top of my head. So the 3, first of all, as far as what the Patriots have going for them, it's a broken record. They have Bill Belichick. So you always have to put that at the top of the list. His coaching pedigree, you can't match it, no matter how much we don't like him. Maybe,
his cheat sheet, you can't match it.
You can't match, Spygate, whatever. Yeah. But Bill Belichick is he is such a mastermind and an intelligent, real-time during the game coach. Can't miss that. They have that. I personally think that's why I kept him in so many games last year. Secondly, I have to like Mac Jones. I don't rave. I mean, he doesn't blow my socks off. However, Mac Jones came from a pedigreed school. He came from a Nick Saban powerhouse, Alabama. I know the stigma about Alabama quarterbacks. Obviously, I have Tua, but I'm going to tell you right now, Mac Jones looked very good in very tough situations last year for the Patriots. So, and I'm talking even in blowouts where they, if they lost a game because they were 21 down with 5 minutes to go in the fourth, Mac was still directing traffic. He is a leader. I think Mac Jones is going to need some time to develop, but it's a good thing for him. He's only going into his second year. So they have Mac Jones. Regardless of the losses that they sustained with free agency, somehow New England's defense tends to still be good year in and year out, regardless of whether J.C. Jackson is out or injured or leaves a team, whether Hightower's gone. Somehow, and I think this goes back to the pedigree of when Belichick was coaching with the Cleveland Browns, when it was all about the D, no reference intended, that Belichick has that incredible way of putting together solid defenses. And that's, I think their defense is still going to be pretty good. So I think defense, Mac Jones and Bill Belichick are their things they got going for him. Now, if I'm on the other end, Steven and Cool, what they have problems with, it's weird how sometimes these things tie together. I'm sure as we have our respective teams in the Eagles, Dolphins, Niners, etc., you always know your weaknesses when you are a staunch fan, right? Now imagine what the players and coaching staff feel. They know. I mean, we're just watching, right? And, so with the Patriots, their running game had always been a staple. Their running game is going to be tough to repeat over the Sony Michel, James White era. The running game is going to be tough as far as tough to get going. And that has to do with their offensive line has some changes. I think that their running game would be number one because their running game has always facilitated their offense. Number two would probably come down to a toss-up. So I'm going to say 2 and 3 are going to be kind of in the same. New England has been this dominant force in the AFC, let alone the NFL, with Tom Brady. I think the second problem, they're still trying to find their identity without Tom Brady. And for teammates that have been in the locker room with Tom, and then when he left to go to Tampa Bay, I think the locker room is still lacking a bona fide Tom Brady-like personality and leader. Mac Jones, like I said, he's a leader, but it's not Tom Brady. So I think the Patriots are still looking for that go-to Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, a leader, Drew Brees, that's going to take over that team again from that position. That's why it's for Mac Jones. That's going to be a hindrance because he's young, can't lead yet. And lastly, I think with New England, I think mostly for them, it's going to be how their defense recovers when they are down in the first half, because New England's used to coming out and punch you in the face and drop 21 on you or 14, and their defense usually holds true to that. Last year, they struggled in the first half. They did win a couple of comeback games, but ultimately for New England this year, their defense missing missing some of these pieces at linebacker. I still can't get it out of my head that Vincent Wilfork's not there anymore. He's 3 positions in one, So stopping the run. Yeah, so stopping the run and controlling the clock. New England has to go at the pace that their team is good at. You don't have Tom running the hurry up anymore. The defense has to be well conditioned, and they can't get behind early so that you're not putting all the weight on Mac Jones and that skeleton crew for wide receivers. There you go.
All right, so real quick, we already have our first prediction that we got earlier from Derek about the Bills record. We got Jets Gang said that the Jets are winning the division, putting it out there. And I want to hear from you. What's your prediction on where everybody finishes?
Okay, top to bottom, yeah. Okay, so
top to bottom.
I'll start in the basement, and it's not. I think the Jets are still a little bit away. I think the Jets, like I said, finish the season between 4-13 and 6-11. They might be able to win 8 games, but they're going to have to split their matchups with the AFC East teams to even have a chance at it. Because if they get swept in the division and their schedule, AFC East teams don't have good schedules, especially in the NFC. you got. I love Jets fans and I love football in general. I think the Jets are still a couple years away, but I like the optimism that fans love wanting their team to win the division. I think the Jets are still a little bit away. If they win 8 games, I won't be surprised, because they do have their head coach is great. I mean, Saleh's great, but realistically, 4 to 6 games tops. They might upset a contender because they did it to New England. You know, they might do that, but moving on to third place, this isn't a bias thing. I think New England is the third place team in the AFC East, but it's not because they're going to win maybe 1 game more than the Jets. I think the AFC East is going to be a higher win total for teams. So New England's going to finish in that 500 area. They could win 7 to 9 games, like kind of what they did last year. They might finish 8-9, 9-8. They may get to 10-7 if they maybe surprise the Bills without 60-mile-an-hour winds. That was the game where it was Buffalo or that? No, it was. They couldn't pass the ball, so they ran it a billion times, and I think they threw 4 passes in that windy game. But New England will be in that 500 area. And interestingly, who's in second? Miami will be the second place team in that division, probably around the same area in that. I think they can win 10 games. I know they can. That much speed. And I think they'll split with the Bills because I think that Tyreek Hill is the Bill killer. Everybody knows it. They're not going to be able to cover him and Jalen Waddle and Mike Gesicki. I think that'll be finally a close game because Tyreek Hill takes the doors off of the offense no matter who you're playing for. Buffalo always showed they struggle with that with him in Kansas City. Miami at 9 to 11 wins for Miami, and it's going to depend on how they handle Buffalo. Buffalo is the beast of the AFC East right now. It doesn't bother me to say it as a Fins fan, but Buffalo is next in line to challenge Kansas City, to challenge I can't even say the AFC North anymore because we don't know who's going to come out of that division. But as far as KC goes, I mean, Lamar Jackson's going to have, I don't forget the Ravens, but they're going through a lot of transition. The Bills are the next team to unseat the Chiefs. Cincinnati, I know you guys are like, well, Cincinnati, I don't know, but I got to see them do it 2 years in a row. I don't know about the AFC North. Buffalo has to do 2 things in order to win this division. I agree with Derek. If Buffalo sweeps the AFC East, no problem. They'll roll. But if Buffalo can't, and they start splitting divisional games, and they find themselves in that 12-win range, they could be competing with Miami for the division title. If Miami has a couple breaks go their way. But Buffalo, their biggest thing to get that AFC East title, how are they going to handle Brian Daboll's gone? They have a first-year offensive coordinator in Ken Dorsey. He was a quarterback's coach. Yes, it's Josh Allen, but being an offensive coordinator is a completely different beast in the NFL. I think that's going to be the X factor. If Ken Dorsey cannot draw up game plans to deal with the Sauce Gardners and the Patriots defense and the Miami defenses, you might see a team struggle a little bit heading out of the gate. Those first 4 weeks of the season. So that's what I think it's going to end up being. Buffalo, probably 12-5, 13-4, somewhere in there. I don't think 15 games. I think Derek might be smoking a little bit of the 𝐏𝐈𝐻𝐒𝐿 on that one.
Well, definitely appreciate you coming on, covering those teams with us, dropping all that knowledge. Looking forward to having you on the NFL Matchup Madness show. So we are still going to end up talking about this DK Metcalf trade, our extension, as well as the news around Kyler Murray. But before we get to that, we got another whole division to cover. So we're going to go ahead and bring on our first guest for that. Eddie, appreciate you, and we will be seeing you on Tuesday nights at the NFL Matchup Madness.
Awesome. Appreciate it, guys.
Absolutely.
So as you can see, we have one of our usuals on, one of our favorite people to have on the show. And
yes,
I just want to remind everybody that tonight's preview of the NFC East is brought to you by 𝐿_VMux. So if you are a streamer yourself, if you're a podcast host and you're looking for a professional platform to stream your shows on, use the link in the description below and try out 𝐿_VMux for free today.
Yes, sir. And I had to swap out the hat for this one because we're about to get real in the field.
I could just turn my camera off for the rest of the show until it's time to talk about these other two pieces of business, because these two gentlemen are about to tell me everything there is to know about the NFC East.
Well, we can't do it alone. We can't do it alone. There's another gentleman that we can't leave out.
Well, they're not here yet, so when they get here,
not yet.
We'll deal with that.
So, Coach, man, talk to me about your commies and your Talk to me about. I'm not going to do that today. Talk to me about the Washington Commanders and the rumors that I'm hearing about your quarterback and his attitude.
Well, the Washington Commanders, I think, is going to be a very interesting team. I think it's all pretty much predicated on the play of a Carson Wentz. I think I'm more concerned about the mental makeup more so than actual physical abilities.
As you should be.
Yeah, I think, and the schedule bodes very well. Like you kind of see where he is. It obviously, week 1, Doug comes back to FedEx, and we know Doug pretty much knows just about anything that Carson Wentz throws his way. So, that'll be interesting. And then also, he goes back to Indianapolis, and I think in week 8, October 30th, and then we go to that some place on 95, some little dump in Pennsylvania. On Monday Night Football in November 15th. So,
you mean the only team that actually plays in the city that they're supposed to be? The best team in the NFC East? That's what you're talking about?
We're getting there. We're gonna be close to the DMV area. Trust me. It's all part of an elaborate plan. Just wait.
Is this a long-term plan? You saying? Gotcha.
Yes, we got a plan in place. Yes, we'll probably be more likely to be where we belong in the DMV area. But other things that I'm looking at, because pretty much the biggest issue with this team has been stability at the quarterback. I remember I was on the show yesterday and I talked about it. And it's crazy to think the last time we really had a stable quarterback was about 4 years now with Alex Smith. Before the injury. So you're hoping that this year is it, because if I was on the show last year, I probably would say the same thing about Ryan Fitzpatrick. So it's just one of the things that that's going to be the biggest concern. I think our offense is going to. I think the offense is tailored for a guy like Carson Wentz. Obviously, great running backs. Obviously we got three-headed attack with Antonio Gibson, also J.D. McKissick. Thank God he came back, and then also Brian Robinson. I think they'll be a great addition for him. So he might, he may not get that Jonathan Taylor type of production out of these guys. Probably combined with 3 of these guys, they'll exceed the expectations that we had. Jonathan Taylor last year with the Indianapolis. Wide receivers are solid. Obviously, Terry getting him and signing him to that extension. Drafting Jahan Dotson definitely helps. Hopefully we'll get some production out of Curtis Samuel, which I think he'll be fine. I think the biggest issue last year was just the hamstring injury. It's one of the things where it's just like you just never know if you're gonna recover from it or you might have a setback. I see a guy like De'Ami Brown coming back in his second year, kind of getting himself together. Tight end wise, I think we'll be solid. Obviously, bringing in Logan Thomas. Hopefully he'll be back and better. Also, I look at that. Offense line is a little shaky at best. I think we'll be solid. Obviously, losing a guy like when you lose a guy like a Brandon Sheriff, that's going to be felt big time. So I think I'll put it this way. I think we were probably a little bit better on the offensive line than Indianapolis last year. Obviously, Carson Wentz like big time last year. So hopefully they can keep him upright. I think the biggest thing is the defense. I think the biggest thing what we have to do is just get pressure. Because I think that's really that. Also, we know that's the strength of the defense. Obviously, when we didn't get pressure on the quarterback, everybody went off on us. Like we always used to have a running joke, like, hey, if you got your first or second string receiver, your 1 or 2 receiver, start them in fantasy if you're going against us, because we know they're gonna get sustainable yardage. So I think if we just get that, because pretty much if we can get that, get pressure on that line. And I think the biggest thing too was our third down defense was atrocious. I think if you look at it, we probably may have had maybe the worst third down defense probably in NFL history. That's how I felt. It just felt like every time it's the most weirdest thing. Yeah, most time in theory, it's okay, it's a 30 short, 31, 32. I'm a little nervous. But when it's like 30, like 8, 39, I'm like, oh boy, like they're gonna get this, they're gonna convert it. Because that's how bad they were last year on converting on third down defense. So as long as they get the pressure, I think once you get that pressure, it helps everything else. So obviously, they'll help show up the deficiencies on our linebacker core, then our secondary. So it's just, and the only thing that really perplexed me a lot for this year, we really make a lot of improvements, and I think in our biggest weaknesses. So that's one thing where I'm kind of a little bit leery about this year a little bit. I mean, I'm confident, but still a little bit leery.
Okay. So how do you feel about some guys that you're going to be getting back on your defensive line from injury this year? Do you feel like that's going to make that line what most people expected it to be last year?
Yeah. I think the only thing I'm kind of have mixed feelings about it because obviously the departures that we had, obviously, you lose a guy like a Tim Settle, you lose a guy like a 𝐿, where you look at how last year it felt like that defensive line was pretty much was like a revolving door. It's like playing musical chairs last year, especially towards the end of the season where you had guys going in and out of that lineup. Obviously, you bring back a Chase Young. Hopefully, you guys will be lucky probably when we play your guys in week 3. So you probably won't get to see Chase, or you probably see him in November. So be lucky, cool. But anyway, so professional. But anyway, so hopefully Chase, when he comes back, going on assumption, because I think he's going to be, he'll start the season. I think he'll be on the pup to start the season, so he'll be missing, a quarter of the season for the most part. But hey, that's good because hey, we don't want to rush him back and want to, get him potentially hurt or aggravate the injury. So you think of bringing like, then Montez Sweat. Because obviously, towards the end of the year, the situation, his personal tragedy in his life, he'll be back and, back to kind of full strength. And I do like the 𝐏𝐑𝐻𝐿e signing, but the draft pick, obviously, we love those Alabama guys. So, coupled with, and then I think the Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne situation, I think I want that to kind of die down. I don't want that to be a situation that people are still talking about. And obviously, what's that team? That team in Texas,
the Arlington football team down there.
The Arlington football team. They still talk about that to this day, as if like, hey, it happens. So and I think we've all moved on from that, except for the people that live in Arlington, Texas.
We can definitely agree on that. So we can definitely agree on that. So I'm gonna take a few minutes here. I'm gonna have you hang around because we're gonna tag team that Arlington football team here a little bit, and we may need to also cover the New York Giants. Give people a little idea how they got beat this year. We always enjoy having you on, bro. But I'm gonna take a few minutes and give y'all a little bit of knowledge. A representative, shout out to Mike Fuji from Mito. He's going to be covering the Philadelphia Eagles, but he wasn't able to make it tonight due to work. So I'm in his stead. Just a little bit of information on this team. So just gonna do that real quick. So Philadelphia, we're gonna make it quick because if you want an in-depth piece on Philadelphia, you can go down to the bottom of the page, find that Eagles Elite podcast. You can click on that and get all the information you want about any position group, our thoughts going into the season, all that's there. But for the sake of the show, we got to give the people something. So we're going to talk about the players real quick and where I think we're going to end up. This is a solid group, thanks to the major addition to A.J. Brown. That takes a guy that I have no love for because of his play on the field. As a person, he's probably a nice, good dude, solid and all that. But on the field, Jalen Reagor cannot catch the ball to save his or anyone else's life. So being able to take him out of the lineup and slide in a guy with the talent of AJ Brown, that's major for the organization. That's a game-changing trade. Devontae Smith is only going to get better. Him on the other side is going to help that. Right now, we're looking at Quez Watkins being the number 3 receiver. Quez is that guy that speed personified. The guy can book. For those of us who might be a little bit more advanced in age than some of these young guys, y'all know what it means to say somebody booking. So he's one of them guys that gets the booking on the field. Very fast, pretty good hands. Got to work on locating the ball and looking into his hands and not slowing down on the big plays. Some of that's been was the QB play at some points last season. Not going to overlook that, but you just get to where you get to. If he can't get the ball to you where you get to, that's a different situation. But you get there, and he's got the speed that you can throw the ball up, kind of like when we had Deshaun Jackson back in the day. You just throw the ball up and you go get it. He's got that speed. So hopefully in his 3rd year, we're going to see a lot more development from him. We're not even going to waste time singling out the offensive line. We know that this is at worst a top 7 offensive line in the NFL, at worst. So as long as they stay solid, there's only one battle that's really going on. But as long as they stay solid, there's a little bit of depth. So injuries shouldn't even be a big problem if we come up with an injury on the offensive line. They're deep. We drafted Cam Jurgens. He's going to be big for that. We talk about tight end. Dallas Goedert is going to slide right in. Only concern with him is hands. There's times where he doesn't make the big catch. Well, the easy catch, but he makes the big catch. The one-handed catch, the diving catch, the crazy catch. But also add just making the 5 or 10 yard crossing routes catch. You just grab the ball. You know, there's sometimes no one gets the ball all the time, but just play like you need to play. That's all we really need from him. You go to the defensive man. I've read some articles where they said different teams have the number 1 cornerback group, but I said we got to be in that conversation. We got big play Slay, right? And then on the other side, we brought in a guy like James Bradberry. James Bradberry, I still think is a high end 2, maybe low end 1 cornerback. He got stuck in a situation last year that didn't really work out for him. It happens. Not judging anybody. Everybody can have a down year. But now you're in a place where you can have iron sharpen iron. You got a guy across from you. You know people are going to throw at you because they're not going to try to throw a Slay all day. You've got a wide receiver in practice that you're going to have to go up against every practice in A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith. That's going to help you be crisp. That's going to help you be ready because these are 2 very solid, explosive wide receivers. Linebacker is one of the things that I'm happy with the group, but I don't feel like it's the greatest linebacker group ever, but it is a solid group with the starters, Kaiser Wright, TJ Edwards, and Hassan Reddick. Hassan Reddick's a beast. He's going to move around, but he's the starting Sam linebacker. Safeties, we got to see in camp. We brought in some guys, mainly 𝐿 that I'm sure my co-host knows a little bit something about. I think he's going to get a starting role by the end of training camp, but right now he's not a starter. Right now, it's Anthony Harris and Marcus Epps, 2 guys that put in work. They've been on the team. So going to have to beat them out to get it, but I think Tart was brought in to do that. He's just got to prove that he can do it on the field. Special teams, we know what it is. Not sure who the guy who's going to be returning punts and kicks is this year. Hope and pray it's not the guy with the hands of stone. But, you know, if that's a decision that the team makes, I'm just going to have to live with it. As far as the record, man, we win in the East. We sweeping the Arlington football team. You heard it. Call it. We're not going to sweep the division because we're going to lose to somebody. We're going to either lose a game to the Commanders or the Giants. But Dallas, Arlington football team, you're taking 2 L's. Get ready for them. And that's what that is. 11 wins for the Philly, 11 to 12 wins.
Okay. Yeah, Jaguarski Tart, man. That was a good pickup for y'all. I know a lot of people.
Oh, it's Jaguarski? Okay.
Yeah, I know a lot of people kind of beat him up because he's the guy who dropped the interception against the Rams. But I mean, you know, that's just a play. If you look at his overall play and what he actually brought, really good player. The only reason he's not back in San Francisco, it came down to we had a much cheaper guy on the roster that we felt like could step in and fill that role. So, that's what happens in the NFL. It's a business. Can't pay everybody. So, really good pickup for y'all, I think.
Absolutely. All right, Couch Coach. It looks like it's on me and you, big dog. So it's nothing, because another thing I want y'all to understand and I want y'all to know, this man over here, Couch Coach, me and him going to also be bringing you information on the NFC Beast all year long. Another show that I'm privileged to be a part of, as well as Couch Coach. So this is nothing new. This is what we're going to be doing all year. So it's all gravy.
I don't know if you can see down there, but we do have Waze is on too.
Oh, well, we'll go ahead and get Wise in here. Yeah, go ahead and slide Wise in here, man. We'll slide Wise in too. We'll let him give us the info on the Giants, because this man is a diehard Giants fan, and then we'll all give you a little tidbit on the Arlington football team.
All right, so Couch Coach, just hang out in the green room backstage, and we'll bring you back on here in a little bit, okay?
All right.
That's the
What's
guy.
going on, brother?
That's the guy right there, Wise 𝐿. So for y'all that don't
What's
know,
up?
this gentleman here, he's in it. This Real Wise network, you know what I'm saying? This is the Real Wise radio, all that going on, you know what I'm saying? Also, another one of my NFC Beast brethren, you know what I'm saying? And he's gracing us with his presence on here. And again, as I said before, man, this applies to Couch Coach and everybody that's been on tonight and everybody that will be coming on. We got guys that are real fans of these teams, but also can hit you with the proper perspectives, give you information, and make you understand what's going on with the teams, and not just come up here and give you a bunch of rah-rah.
Well, my team, they had a pretty decent draft, man. It's the New York Football Giants. But there's so many questions, man. Is Saquon going to be Ricky Saquon, or is he done? Daniel Jones, can he hold the ball and not turn it over? I like some of the picks they made in the draft. I love the kid from Oregon. It's gonna help with Leonard Williams and all the other guys that they have on that defense. And I like the coaching staff that they brought in, and I love the fact Joe Schoen from Buffalo, the new GM and everything. So they're headed in the right direction. They didn't pick up the 5th-year option on Daniel Jones. We'll see if what they're gonna do with that. If they're gonna end up drafting a new quarterback next year, or is he gonna just play and earn himself a contract this year?
Yeah, that definitely makes sense, man. I gotta say, I talk about the Eagles, talk about us winning 11, 12 games, but Daniel Jones has had some really good games against us, bro, and I just don't understand. But he has. You know what I'm saying? He just has.
You know what it is? It's crazy because he has the talent, he has the arm strength, he has the athletic ability. It's just that he's first of all, the coach he had the last couple of years was not really Joe Judge was not the man for the job he wasn't.
That's true.
I wasn't happy when they hired him. I get it. He comes from New England, but he wasn't Josh Daniels or somebody else. He was special teams coach or something like that. He wasn't even one of the. So to me, that was a bad call. I think they got it right with going with Brian Daboll. He ran a great offense in Buffalo. He helped make Josh Allen into the quarterback that he is today. When Josh Allen first came out, everybody was doubting his skill level. Like they thought he wouldn't be able to be a passing quarterback. They thought he would be more of a running quarterback, and he's shown he can be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. So hopefully having Brian Daboll will get Daniel Jones on the right track.
So let me ask you, as a fan of the team, how confident are you?
We suck. We do, man. There's so many questions, man. Like so many questions. What receivers are gonna like? the kid from Florida that we got last year, Tony, he's good. But look at all the rumors this past offseason. They're going to trade and they're going to do that, do this. Then they draft a similar receiver from the kid they got from Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I don't know, man. They need more. They need some help at receiver. First of all, 𝐏𝐈𝐒 is not the answer.
It's definitely not the answer.
We got to see how that offensive line, because that right there, if we don't have an offensive line, then it's over. Like, and that's what we haven't had. That's been one of our worst positions is the offensive line, and we're gonna need that if Saquon is gonna have holes to run, or if Daniel Jones is gonna have time to throw the ball.
Yeah. So I was gonna ask you, where do you stand on the whole Saquon Barkley situation? Do you feel like he's a guy that's going to be able to turn around, stay healthy this year? Or do you feel like this is a guy that just may be one of those guys that can never really get healthy and you might just start looking at another place for a running back?
Nah, man, I love Saquon, man.
Okay.
I love Saquon. And again, if you don't provide offensive line help, you expect him to do everything. Like, running backs take a beating as it is.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine if your line is so bad, you're just getting pounded every single time you grabbing the rock, man. Anybody will get hurt. It's just, to me, they failed him and they failed Daniel Jones with not. Nate Solder was supposed to be the answer. He was a bust. He didn't do anything for the offensive line. It's just hopefully the players that they drafted this year and some of the key acquisitions they made help turn it around. They brought in some people that they were familiar with and from Buffalo, a couple of linemen, and so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you that because I felt like I knew where you sat, but I definitely agree with you. You can't really judge a running back until he has the proper line in place. Now, his former backfield mate that we have over in Philadelphia is a little bit of a different story. You got a line, but you will not play and go. You want to dance. And you getting blasted when you dance, and then you out for 2 or 3 games.
Yeah,
so hopefully
Miles Sanders, when he's on the field and playing well, he's dangerous, man.
He is. But the best ability is availability.
It's just, yeah. I feel you. I'm saying it's like they're both Penn State guys, and they both injured all the time now. So hopefully they can both stay on the field and put some numbers up.
Oh yeah, man. I'd love to see. Obviously I'm an Eagles fan, but I like Saquon Barkley. I like him in college. I'd love to see him come out and have some big games, just not against us, but the rest of the games. Love to see him have some big games. So I hope he does stay healthy for you, man, because I think he does make everything better. But again, like you said, the main point of that is if those linemen that hopefully understand what Daboll wants to do, that he's brought in, as well as the guys he decides to keep, give you a better line. Because I would definitely agree that one of the biggest problems that you guys have had in recent years is the line. So yeah, man, I respect your honesty about where the team sits at right now.
Listen, I'm a fan. Listen, I'm a fan. Yes, I am a fan. But you already know I'm a realist, man. I'm not gonna come on here and I'm more confident in the Jets than I am in the Giants, man.
Oh wow, okay, that's a strong statement.
Wise, let me ask you a question, man. Since you're not really that confident in the team and you feel like y'all not gonna have a great season, would you prefer at this point to just like not do well and then maybe go get a quarterback next year? Or do you actually want to see Daniel Jones do well and then not have to start over? Because I'm seeing a lot of Giants fans that want to start over for some reason.
I'm tired of these quarterbacks for them trying to replace Eli, man. I'm over it. I'm over it, man. Like, give this kid. Listen, it's not his fault that he's had all these coordinators, all these head coaches that didn't put him in the proper position, didn't draft, didn't get the proper free agents. Yes, he has a problem with holding on to the ball. Of course, he does.
Most young quarterbacks do.
But if
especially if you're not confident in your receivers or your line.
Exactly.
shouldn't be.
If you don't have if you don't have anyone to throw the ball to, or if you're on the run all the time, of course you're not gonna like. Quarterback is as good as his line is gonna. Like I don't know. So I get why they didn't sign, but who is out there next year that's really blowing anybody away? What
right now?
What generational quarterback out is out there right now that's gonna like really wow you and blow you away? Like, did you see anyone last year who didn't come out this year that's just so? I say, listen, just let him ball out. If he balls out, give him that contract. If he don't, then I guess you move on. But hopefully he stays healthy. Hopefully the O line plays well. Barkley plays well, and he can actually show what he's capable of doing.
Yo, I definitely hear that, man. So Wise, Couch Coach actually had to hop on something else, so he had to roll out, but it's all good. We're gonna make this real quick. We got one other team that we need to cover real quick in our division, and that's the Arlington football team, as I like to refer to them. I'm gonna simply say this: you still have the same coach, you still have the same meddling owner opening his mouth and saying foolishness. You still have the same guy quarterback who probably is, as of this moment, the best quarterback in the division, but I don't think it's a big gap between him and Hurts, and even Daniel Jones if he plays better, and if he doesn't go crazy again, even Carson Wentz. I don't feel like physically the athletic tools that Prescott has is so much better than anyone else in the division. I think he's just been able to have the longevity of playing with the same team and some decent receivers.
Until recently, they've had a monster line.
Mm-hmm.
They've had and until recently where they decided they weren't going to run the ball anymore and not use Zeke the way they're supposed to use him.
Right.
So you're putting I get it. You're paying him all this money and you want him to be a star of your team, but you're not managing the game right. Like he's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not Aaron Rodgers. He's not the one you're going to take and have him carry the load of the team and help and win the game. He's not that guy. He'll manage the game for you. Yes, he'll get those passes in there, but he needs that running game. You can't have him go out and pass for 300, 400 yards a game. It's just not. That's not his game. Now, if you get that running game going and open it up for him, it's something different. So I think the numbers he put up prior to that was, again, he had a magnificent line. They had the best offensive line in football for many years. Yeah. And that was beneficial for him. Now that those pillars are falling apart, you're seeing what's going on. You're seeing he's middle of the pack quarterback.
A little bit more skittish than he was. Not as much time to sit back there and just chill and survey the field. You got to kind of make quick reads. So, yeah, I definitely agree with that, man. I 100% agree with that. And I think Zeke and Pollard, you got to use. If you're not going to just use Zeke, you got to run the ball. Now, obviously, they played us the first game. They pounded the ball against us. They smashed us. And that's why they blew us out. But they did not keep that same philosophy with other teams. And that's what hurt them. And that's why they ended up the same place we did at the end of the season, one and done in playoffs. They made it. Give them that. They want to brag about being undefeated in the regular season against the division. Just want to remind anyone that's a fan of I'll even use their real name this once, the Dallas Cowboys. You played our backups in the last game of the season. So if you want to brag about beating our backups, congratulations. Have at it. But what I want you to understand.
What does winning the NFC East get you? It doesn't get you anything. It's like, why are you bragging about that? Why are you bragging about that? Why are you saying you ain't win a Super Bowl? That's what they play for. That's what they play for. So you're gonna brag because you went undefeated in a division where you had Daniel Jones and the Giants, and you had the Commanders, who
was it Taylor Heineke?
Yeah, and once they lost Chase Young, it was a wrap. Their defense was falling apart. So you want to put your hat on that? Come on, you played a trash Giants team.
Right. You didn't do a lot of the things to make
the
you feel like
competition you had was really Philly, and like you said, last game of the season, Philly didn't even start their starters.
Yeah, so running around with that. Yeah, I agree. I think Dallas didn't really improve their team. They got some
actually
pieces.
got hurt. They hurt their team more.
Yeah,
Like,
I think they actually got worse. I think they got worse, honestly.
Losing Randy Gregory is going to hurt them.
Yes, sir.
Well, and that's not going to be the biggest thing that's going to hurt them, in my opinion. So remember, they lost Amari Cooper.
Yeah, they traded Amari Cooper. They traded him. Yeah.
So he's up in Cleveland now. Now here's the thing. I know why he's laughing, because as soon as I said Amari Cooper, he thought about the fact that Amari Cooper called Dak the Black Kirk Cousins. I know that's exactly why he's laughing right now.
That is exactly why, bro. Every time you say Amari Cooper, I'm like, Amari Cooper is wild. And the thing about it is, when he said it, I started laughing, right? But then I thought about it, and I was like, wow, he might be right.
But
he was catching balls from him, so he should know.
Right. But here's the thing. So you ship Amari Cooper out, right? Now you're hoping that CeeDee Lamb's gonna step up, I guess.
Yeah.
But let's not forget that CeeDee Lamb, who looked really good at the beginning of last year, completely disappeared the second half of the season. And it's not like he had number one corners on him. Yeah, it's not like he had number one corners on him. So even when Amari Cooper wasn't playing well, he wasn't able to step up and take that load. So if I'm a Dallas fan, I'm not counting on CeeDee Lamb stepping in and being my number one receiver. I mean, I'm not saying he can't possibly end up doing it, but I'm certainly not counting on it if I'm a Cowboys fan.
I think that they're expecting Gallup to step up.
Yeah, and Gallup's coming back from the injury. You know what I'm saying? So you don't even know like when he's going to really be able to play.
You don't know when he's going to be 100%.
I mean, is Gallup a guy you're going to really honestly say is going to be your number one?
That's a great question.
Yeah. So to me, I think they got worse. We know the offensive line is going to be banged up.
Yeah.
I
think Wise makes a great point. They have to run the ball. They're going to have to run the ball. And I think the thing is, everyone's going to know that that's what they're going to have to do. So it's not going to be a secret. You're not going to sit the ball back there and try to throw for 4,000 or 5,000 yards with Dak and think you're going to win games with the line not as good as it used to be. Yeah. So you're going to have to run the ball. All the teams in your division, a lot of the teams on your schedule as well, have good run defense. We added guys like Jordan Davis. I didn't talk about because I didn't want to get into everybody because I can go all day. Again, scroll down to the bottom, click that button, and check out Eagles Elite. Talk about it in as much detail as you want. But we're all ready for that run game that they're going to have to use this year. So unless you can find some gem that can actually be a number one receiver or that can surprise everybody like Cedric Wilson did last year, who's no longer with your team, which was another bad move by you guys, it's going to be hard for you to be as good as you were last year. I think the Eagles are ascending. I think if Carson Wentz can get his mind right, the Commanders can be decent. The Giants might even surprise some people and be a little bit better than people think this year. And Dallas is going to fall back down toward us a little bit more. So I think you're looking at, Dallas might be in trouble. And the coach don't want to run the ball. He's never wanted to run the ball. So that's another problem.
That's the thing. Like, he's never been that coach to run the rock. Like,
yeah,
that's Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, because I'm sitting there thinking, like, my knock on a potential run game has nothing to do with their running backs. I mean, Zeke takes a lot.
They have some great running backs.
Look, Zeke is not a lot, but Zeke is a good running back.
Yes.
Yeah. And Pollard is good.
Yeah.
But your coaching staff don't run the ball.
It's trash. No. It's trash.
Straight buns.
Straight trash, man.
Hot bucket through your
Kellen Moore. Come on, man. Kellen Moore.
Yes.
Kellen less.
He's just Jason Garrett 2.0.
He gonna say
only
difference
is he doesn't do this all game. That's the only difference.
Hercules.
But yeah, man, I mean, I feel like the Eagles should win the division. Dallas should be second or third. I don't feel like there's going to be as much of a gap because looking at the schedules for like the Giants and the Commanders as well, because of not doing so well last year, you're going to have some other games against teams from other divisions that didn't do so well last year that should not be much better than they were last year. I mean, because we're all improving, right? We drafting players for the most part. Everybody's getting better to an extent, but it's just who can make the biggest jumps in the right positions. So I feel like we're going to all be better than we were last year, except for Dallas. I feel like they're going to fall back down a little bit. So this will be the only year that we'll have to deal with Dallas fans running around talking about they won the division and they swept everybody. Because I don't think it's going to happen for a while again.
No.
All right, so real quick, what's y'all's predictions? I want to hear from each of y'all, top to bottom.
I'm going with Philly, Dallas, Washington, and my team. Philly, Dallas, the Giants, and Washington. I don't have faith in Carson Wentz.
I know one person agrees with you on that.
Yeah, I could actually Philly, Dallas, the Giants, and Washington. Yeah, because I don't think Carson Wentz. Truthfully, if we're talking about just talent, he's probably the best one out of all four, but he's the weakest one up here.
So that's the problem.
You know what I'm saying?
That's the problem. Like, he has the gifts, but does he have the mental capabilities to lead the team? Like,
right.
We've seen like the Super Bowl run, right? The Super Bowl season, right? When he started off,
I think that ruined him.
He started off fire. He started off on fire, leading. He was an MVP candidate early on. Then he gets hurt. Foles takes over, and the rest is history. They win the Super Bowl. It seems like since then it seems like he just hasn't been the same.
Yep. I said myself, I felt like him getting hurt and us still winning the Super Bowl. I said, like, I want to win a Super Bowl. Don't get me wrong. We got to do it over. I'm taking it. But
yeah,
I feel like that was the worst thing for him individually, mentally, was us winning. So, and that's proven to be true. The Colts agree with me as well. And I think that so far, the Commanders are agreeing because apparently he's not ingratiating himself to his teammates from what I've been reading, because I read up on Carson Wentz because I want to be able to laugh. And it's always funny.
We'll definitely be looking forward to those weeks where the Eagles and the Commanders play Tuesday nights on the NFL Matchup Madness. I know you will have another Eagles representative, but I'm sure that you will also be jumping into those conversations. And
I'm staying hands off.
It's gonna be interesting what you and Coach.
I'm staying hands off, man. For that particular arena, I'm staying hands off. Now you catch me on Saturdays on this NFC B show, that's a different story. But on that one, I'm staying hands off. I'm going to play my position. I'm going to let everybody else do their thing.
For sure. Well, Wise, man, we appreciate you coming on tonight, man. Looking forward to actually hearing more from you on the NFL Matchup Madness once the season kicks off, and hearing all that knowledge that you can be dropping, man. And hopefully your Giants do a little bit better than you expecting them to.
Listen, if they do, then that's good. That's a good season.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
it's a good season. If they play better than what I expect them to play, then hey, that's a step up. So I won't complain.
I feel that. Yeah, appreciate you, man. We're gonna be doing some things together. We taking over.
Definitely, man. All right, thank you for having me on, guys.
Appreciate it.
No doubt.
Later.
All right, man. So, obviously, super long show tonight, man. But we had to go ahead and get these in. Had to go ahead and start introducing some of these people. So,
yes, sir.
Make sure you're tuning in over the next few weeks. We're going to be doing every single division. Do we know which one we're doing next week?
We hadn't solidified, but I mean, we could pretty much rock with any of them that you want to do next week. Every other division, we have reps for 3 of the teams from the NFC and all the AFC. So, whatever 2 you want to do next week, we can really rock with them. You know what I'm saying?
Well, in that case, I guess y'all just going to have to show up next week and see what we're talking about. So, see if we're talking about your team. Because if you don't show up, you might miss it. So, there you go. So, real quick, man, before we wrap up, I do want to go and touch on these two big stories that have dropped. So, first, we'll talk about the DK Metcalf extension. Not too much of a surprise in here. About what we expected. It's a 3-year extension, $72 million in total, 31 million guaranteed at signing, 58.2 million guaranteed through 2024, and he's basically gonna be a free agent again in a couple of years. So for him, good opportunity to get paid. He's gonna get paid again in just a few years. So pretty good for him. Average is like 24 mil, which is kind of about what we would probably have expected based on what other guys have gotten paid. So I don't really see any surprises in it. Do you?
No, I think the length is exactly what I expected as well, because they're going through a little bit of a flux on what's happening with the quarterback position. They're talking about Geno Smith might be the starter this year. So you're kind of looking like, all right, what's going to happen with them moving forward? Because you really need them to do what they need to do to entice him to stay. And this locks him in short term, but still gives him a chance to get paid again when his market does something crazy with one of these second string receivers gets paid too much again and boosted for everybody.
Yeah. Now, I will say there was one thing that came out about this that was interesting to me. He actually came out and made a comment after he signed about, I always wanted to be here, although I did bluff our GM a couple times, telling him that I might want to leave. Now, this is interesting because he shares an agent with two other gentlemen, AJ Brown, who also requested a trade, and of course Deebo Samuel, who also requested a trade. And I said the whole time, going all the way back to the draft, that I wasn't convinced that Deebo wanted to leave. That I thought it was a play to try to get a better contract. So just seeing Metcalf come out and actually make this statement and confirm himself that he actually did try to play that card just makes me a little bit curious. Did he did his agent maybe encourage him to play that card? And if so, was Deebo encouraged to play the same card? So just a little interesting tidbit that I kind of caught wind of there. Ultimately it doesn't mean anything. Hopefully Deebo's going to get signed here soon. Based on this contract, I think it's going to still be exactly what I've been saying, probably around about 25 mil. Might end up being around 26, but I don't think too much changes. I think this basically might hopefully be the last piece that needed to fall in place for us to get something done with Deebo, so I can stop hearing about it.
Well, man, you definitely are keeping up with what's going on with the Deebo situation. I'm just happy AJ Brown signed, still delivered, and getting it in practice. And I'm glad he's got that connection, and he's kind of playing like that big brother for Devontae Smith, which is good for us as well. So, man, it's going to be a good season. As y'all have already seen tonight, we got a lot of strong reps. So I'm ready for that. And I just want to say quickly on the Kyler Murray thing, I know you may have a different perspective, but basically for me, he did the thing. It came out about the film watching and stuff. And apparently he watches like 4 hours of film a week or whatever was something that was reported. Mm-hmm. And I want to say my quarterback, who a lot of people malign for not being able to read defenses and things, does that in a day. Yep. So apparently they have acquiesced and just basically been like, if he doesn't want to do it any longer, we're not going to make it. The baby don't have to do more film. He still get his money, that type of thing. And it's more of what we said last week for me. It's just disappointing to see the Cardinals just allow this dude to, number one, bully them into paying him before they had to. And then you put a clause in and say, look, man, you got to do more in the film room. And then you take it back, but you still give them the same money. Like, what in the world are the Cardinals doing?
So I got a couple.
I need answers.
Yeah, I got a couple takes on this, right? So hypotheticals, right? So number one, I'm going to make just this comment. I'm not saying this is what happened. I'm just saying it's funny to me that no one is even considering this a possibility. I know a lot of people who will put things like this in place as a way to get themselves to do something, right? It's like an accountability piece. They got to really put something on the line that they don't want to lose if they don't follow through. So we don't know, man. Kyler Murray might have put this in the contract himself. It might have been something where he said, I'm going to put this in a contract as an accountability piece for me, right? Which actually would make a lot of sense on why they would be able to just take it right back out. And maybe if he doesn't want to share that information, that's why they didn't put it out there. So I'm just going to throw that out there, something for people to think about and realize that it might not just be the other situation, but I'm also going to comment on the other possibility, right? Which is that the Arizona Cardinals are the softest organization. Like, they're softer than the 2020 Los Angeles Clippers, okay? Because the thing
With
is...
12P.
Your playoff P. Because the thing is, not only did you fold and allow this dude to actually force you to sign him to this long-term deal with all this money after he threw a fit on you, but on top of that, you now are telling me that you also allowed, because you said like, oh, he got this taken out. I don't think he got this taken out. If it was really the team that put the clause in, I don't think Kyler Murray got it removed. I think the media got it removed, which is even worse. Because you basically are telling me that you're allowing the media to run your organization for you. So the fact that the media and fans were criticizing you for paying him all this money and needing this clause, if you took it out because of the criticism of that, y'all super soft. Y'all are the official Charmin of the NFL.
Soft and sloppy.
And I'm going to tell you, man,
get
if
the
that's your
reference,
leadership,
they call you Poppy.
look, and we'll talk about the NFC West, when we talk about them, but I'm just going to tell you right now, if that's how soft your leadership in that organization is, y'all might be finishing dead last in the division, even without Seattle's questions.
Okay.
We'll talk about that more, but I'm just throwing it out there. That sounds like some lack of organizational leadership to me.
Some lack of institutional control type things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean that's really all my thoughts on it, man. I just I just thought it was kind of ridiculous that all this hype about somebody watching film.
Yeah, I mean it's important to watch, but my thing is, either way, why would you take it out after it's done? That's just my only real question.
Yeah.
Like, however you want to get to that point, I don't really care. It's there, and then you're gonna take it out.
Yeah, and like I say, especially if because their statement made it sound like they took it out because of the media. It's like I said, to me, that's even worse than if you took it out for Kyler Murray.
That's even softer. Yeah.
Yeah. So
you're just breeding softness everywhere. Just soft.
Killing me softly.
They're killing themselves softly, that's for sure.
Yeah, they definitely kill themselves softly.
With all their softness. They kill themselves with all their softness.
Well, man, definitely appreciate everyone who tuned in tonight. No super duper long show, much longer than what we normally go. But as y'all see, man, lots and lots of stuff going on. NFL matchup madness is going to be straight fire. The NFC Beast show, of course, is also going to be fire. Eagles Elite Wednesday nights already on. You can go check that out. So, yeah, man, this is why we are the undisputed, reigning, defending tag team champions of the Interactive Sports Talk.
Let's go.
Let's go. We the ones. Everybody else the twos. Acknowledge us.
Except for the people who are with us. They're also ones. Yes, acknowledge us all.
Yes, acknowledge all of us. Which with the the news shows, there's a lot of people.
Yes, sir.
We like the Wu-Tang Clan to Interactive Sports Talk now. Man,
exactly.
For everybody tuning in, whether you're checking this on replay, whether you're live right now, please make sure if you haven't already, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Again, shout out to our sponsors, Fanatics and EV Mux. Links down in the description if you want to click on those and show a little love and support to the show. We would definitely appreciate it. We'll see y'all back next Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Cool. Final
be
word.
ready to hang out a little bit. Just be ready to hang out a little bit because we get to talking and we're introducing a lot of good, knowledgeable people. So just be ready to hang out for a little bit.
Yeah. You know, at least for the next couple weeks, we'll be, you know, a little extra, but you know, it's all good.
Yes, sir.